This is Robert Bartolacci, the MindShare Learning Report, Canada's leading learning and technology e-magazine. I have the good fortune of having a MindShare learning moment with Evelyn Jacks, who is the founder and president of Knowledge Bureau, a virtual campus focused on professional development of tax and financial advisors. She is one of Canada's top 25 women of influence, and Evelyn is also one of Canada's most prolific and best-selling authors. I understand she's just published her 50th book, which we'll chat about, on wealth management, and is a highly respected financial commentator and speaker. Evelyn was appointed by the Minister of Finance, Jim Flaherty, to serve on the Federal Task Force on Financial Literacy, which is of great interest to us. And she has won numerous awards, including the prestigious Rotman School of Business Canadian Women Entrepreneur of the Year. Thank you for joining me today, Evelyn.
Well, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
You know, it's a long time since the Learning Company days when Kevin O'Leary, who's now on Dragon's Den, acquired your company. We were colleagues for a brief time.
We were. It was fun.
Well, a lot has happened since then, and you've evolved your business as we have. And really, what's intriguing to me is your focus on financial literacy and how I'm part of this initiative, C21 Canada, that's focused on 21st century learning skills, looking at youth. And you know, financial literacy seems to be rarely mentioned, but it's such a critical skill in the 21st century skill set.
It absolutely is a critical skill. In fact, we would call it an essential life skill. And it's interesting because it is a difficult skill because it is a subset of literacy and numeracy. So when we were traveling on the task force, first of all, we were delighted that Canada as a whole embraced our definition of financial literacy, which was to have the knowledge and the skills to make responsible financial decisions. And so when you think about that definition, Robert, what comes to mind is knowledge and skills are not enough. We have to teach those and we have to acquire those, but we make responsible decisions about money throughout our life cycle. And that means that the learning opportunities have to happen throughout our lifetimes. And it's that foundational learning that we have, that captive audience that we have in the schools, where we can really make a big difference in terms of what happens later. Money is not emotional, but our behavior with money is. So there are both soft skills and hard skills that we have to think about.
Now, I was going to mention, so in terms of the skills gap, we sense there's a skills gap. We sense there's great challenges around financial literacy. Perhaps you can give us a sense of the urgency around educators, the school districts, school boards, embracing this more systemically.
Well, you know, today we live in a much more complicated society. So first of all, we have solved the issue of the financial crisis on a global basis. We saw the G20 ministers get together and solve this crisis. So first of all, we're not talking about financial literacy on a regional basis anymore. We're talking about it on a global scale. It's quite possible that many of the kids who are going through our school system today will be working. My own son is working in Cambodia right now. And so these kids are global in their approach. And the other thing is that these kids have commerce as a part of their life. I remember my little boys recognizing the golden arches before they could even talk. So consumerism was part of their world. And things as important as understanding a cell phone contract, you know, most 12-year-olds need to understand that. And the skills behind that are literacy, numeracy. Yet in Canada, the statistics are low. 40% of us don't have the literacy skills to understand a basic financial document, and about 48% of us don't have the numeracy skills. And so there's work to be done in the classroom. Fortunately, there's lots of technology and lots of good reason to make these stories work with the kids.
Now, I understand that the Financial Literacy Task Force, there was curriculum that emerged out of that to help support teachers in the classroom in teaching.
Yes, and as a matter of fact, we ourselves at the task force did not develop curriculum. What we found, though, was that there were all kinds of stakeholders all across the country with fantastic curriculum. In fact, there are people and companies and organizations that are doing a terrific job. We just don't know about each other. So one of the key recommendations, there were 30 recommendations for the task force on financial literacy. I really do encourage teachers to go to the website, task force. On financial literacy is the name of the website, and you can download the report and the 30 recommendations. One of the first things that is going to happen is that we're very soon going to be appointing a financial literacy leader, and we're going to start aggregating this information that exists out there from all of the stakeholders. So I believe there will be wonderful curriculum available based on that initiative.
Fantastic. So, how young should we be teaching these students about financial literacy?
Well, because of the behavioral finance part of this equation, financial literacy really does start in the home. The values around understanding the difference between wants and needs, and the difference between being current oriented and future oriented is part of home life. So one of the great things that schools can do is work together with parents and helping them understand how to develop values around money, even with small children. And that's as easy as having a piggy bank and teaching children how to save for the future. And they catch on pretty quickly. But once it comes to having the students in the school, there are many, many ways to integrate financial literacy into all sides of a curriculum, from the math curriculum, which is an obvious place, to the English curriculum, where you can teach concepts and language around finance.
Well, to that, one of our national contest winners was from the Toronto district, and I visited the school. And these grade 5 students were blogging and creating business plans. And this was the teacher challenged them to start their own business. And
Yes.
this was around English. So the writing piece, and then they were doing Excel spreadsheets. And this is grade 5. I was so impressed. They bought one of the products the kids created. So it's about project-based learning.
Good for you. And it's about stories. We find that when people can share stories around purposeful stories around commerce and finance and the economies. I mean, again, my experience has been the kids do catch on. One of the projects we had here in Manitoba, I've partnered with the Manitoba Securities Commission, and we developed a calendar, and we had 12 financial literacy messages so that, teachers could actually talk about a concept every single month, and then kids could blog about it, tweet about it, share, this calendar message. So there's lots of fun ways to integrate the math side of things and also the conceptual knowledge into projects like that.
Absolutely. Now, do you have any tips that you'd offer some young people who are just starting out their careers on what should they do first? I landed my first job. I don't have RSPs. I have debt. I have loans to pay back for my university. Where would I begin?
Well, we have published 2 books for young people, 14 to 34, at the Knowledge Bureau. And one is called The Smart Savvy Young Consumer, and is by CTV consumer reporter Pat Foran. And in that book, we really talk about, what do you need to know about interest rates on credit cards? What do you need to know about debt? Taking a student loan, that's a great thing when you get it, but it's really about the other end. Are you asking the right questions about repayment schedules and how much that's going to take out of your earnings, once you get to work? The other book that we've published is The One Financial Habit That Can Change Your Life. And that's a book about saving. It's understanding the time value of money and compounding interest. Both those skills, understanding debt and understanding the time value of money, are things that we can be teaching kids in school. But the rubber really hits the road when they are taking that car loan, or as you say, taking the student loan. So learning a little bit about that is important before you do those things. But I also have seen many university students, in fact, people with commerce degrees, who ask the question, well, now what? What do I invest in first, a TFSA or an RSP? And that's that's a good place to start, because tax literacy is the first thing you need to know to keep more of the first dollar you earn, keep it the longest, and then preserve it for your future. And that's what I love to talk about, which is
Excellent.
taxes.
That's a great segue to my next question about your book, your 50th book. Congratulations, Jacks on Tax.
Thank you.
What inspired this one after 49?
Yeah, well, you know what, Robert, and it was definitely an inspiration because we had retired that book. We found that people really didn't need a line by line guide anymore. So we had sort of a 5 year or 6 year drought around, people needing help line by line. What has happened in Canada today is very significant because CRA, the Canada Revenue Agency, is no longer mailing out tax returns. And in fact, today we have close to 6 million online tax filers. And I am all over tax software. I think it's fantastic, but it's seductively simple. And the reason why I say that is that we're still dealing with the same Income Tax Act.
Right.
And we know that people are leaving money on the table, even though they are filing with software and online. So Jacks on Tax is to help you make sure you do the best return for your time and money.
Fantastic. And it's available in bookstores today. I saw one the other day as I was looking to buy my Starbucks in one of the bookstores. So congratulations with that. And any final thoughts to share around financial literacy and learning and educators and in the 21st century?
I think it's something that we absolutely must embrace. And I really encourage teachers who may not have an entire comfort level with this subject to definitely make sure that they look into it for their students. Their future is going to be global. Financial literacy is going to be an essential life skill. And I think it's our responsibility and our obligation and also our honor to teach it to our young people.
Thank you so much for joining me this afternoon, Evelyn.
Robert, it was my pleasure. Great to see you.
That was Evelyn Jacks, founder and president of the Knowledge Bureau. My name is Robert Murdelacci of the MindShare Learning Report. And until next time, keep the learning curve steep.